MMOs usually offer a challenge that tests the best players of their game. In old school RuneScape, we have several endgame challenges, like the endgame raids and things like the Inferno. In WoW, I actually don't know what they have in WoW, I've actually never played it before. But in Final Fantasy XIV, the hardest challenge offered to players are the endgame raids known as Ultimates. Ultimates require players to focus up for a 15+ minute long fight. It tests your abilities to know how to solve tough mechanics, and if you mess up once, just once, there's a high chance the fight is unsalvageable and you gotta restart all over again from the very beginning. So imagine getting to the last phase of a fight and then you just mess up just once and die. Yeah, that's 15 minutes wasted and that's pretty much game and you gotta start all over again. Truly a tragic feeling. All the while, you need to be using your skills and pressing the correct buttons or else you won't meet the right damage checks or mitigate for your team to, reduce damage. So I thought to myself, can I be a single Final Fantasy XIV Ultimate without even needing to press a single damage skill or mitigation skill? Another thing that Final Fantasy is known for is having its class job system. Classes are the basic forms of jobs, while jobs are the improved, upgraded versions. Before your class can be promoted into a job, you need a job stone. You need a job stone to turn your class into a job. Gladiators become sturdy paladins, marauders become the dangerous warriors, conjurers become the ever-helpful white mages, and so on. You're expected to have your job stone in order to actually bring value to raids at endgame. Jobs will have access to better skills for you to use, such as high damaging skills, better healing spells, or damage mitigation. But what if I just did away with all that? So today, I'll be beating an ultimate without pressing a single skill and without my job stone. Before I even attempt this, I need a party. My good friend Saya was down to help me. For credentials, Saya has cleared more ultimates than I have talked to women in my life. He's placed 3rd in the world for clearing the latest raid tier with his team DN, and needless to say, he's a cracked player. He assembled a team and we decided to take on the ultimate, the Weapons Refrain. This fight is a combination of bosses from the base game of Final Fantasy XIV. Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, and finally Ultima, the ultimate weapon. Because the ultimate's final boss is Ultima, the Weapons Refrain has been nicknamed the Ultimate Weapon Ultimate. Ooh, kinda cute actually. Going into it, I decided to go with the Thaumaturge class, the precursor to Black Mage. And the rest of the group besides Saya had no idea.
Wait,
Job change for Dawn Trail.
Wait, am I crazy? Were you not machinist?
No, I was always
Nope,
Thaumaturge,
I knew it.
stupid.
Oh,
I
sorry.
knew it was gonna be a swap.
But they knew something was up as soon as I took off my job stone and the Black Mage icon turned into the Thaumaturge one. So the problem with this fight, and really any fight in 14, is that I won't be putting out any damage. So the other DPSs will have to carry me in damage. I'm so sorry guys, because I put all the work on them while I get the ride free and not do anything. I apologize. And if you think the better play is to have me to stay just dead throughout the entire fight and have everybody else do all the work for me, then you're wrong. Me being dead will only make certain mechanics harder to solve, so it makes it harder to get through the fight entirely. So the best thing for me to do is to stay alive and still do everything that doesn't involve damage. So if you think you can get a free ride by having your dead body dragged across the entire fight, then you might be right, it'll just make things harder for everyone else. Phase 1 of Uwu is Garuda, and this phase is pretty easy. All you have to do is run to the safe spots when possible. Saya made some callouts for me, and it made things a lot easier, and it's especially made easier when I don't have to press any buttons at all and just listen to what Saya tells me. So I just literally go from one spot to the next and just chill out. Also, to clarify, I've done this fight plenty of times before. I've done it enough times to get all the rewards, so I kind of know what I'm doing, but having Saya be my backup is very nice. He's kind of like that guy who's holding you from behind and taking care of you. I should cut that out from the video. With phase 1 done, it's time for the next phase, the Fire Dog Ifrit. Honestly, the easiest phase of this entire ultimate. Especially when you're me, when you don't have to do anything. So Saya has given me the fake melee position. It's called fake melees because usually the melee jobs are doing what I'm doing right now in my role, but I don't have to do anything, and he decided to make everybody else work harder for me, so thank you, Saya. For the most part, I just literally stand in one area for the entire phase. I just stayed stuck to Ifrit's butt the entire time. It felt a bit hotter back here than usual. The fight does pick up towards the end. You have to do a bit of running to dodge these rushes that come outside of the arena, but other than that, a very easy phase. With Ifrit defeated without me having pressed a single button, which I say is pretty impressive on my part actually, we go into phase 3, aka the Big Nugget Titan. and you have to be ready for him to come crashing in. He slams down in the center of the arena, and this will kill you the closer you are to the center. So to save yourself, you have to stand on the edge of the arena because this is proximity damage. And during the actual fight itself, be ready to move, like you have to wake up now. Once you've dodged one mechanic, he'll throw out another one right after. Out of the first 3 phases, this one has the most movement and the most tightest safe spots. And then we have a mechanic called jails. The jails are what many players call the wall of the fight, because this will stump a lot of players who just don't know how to solve this mechanic, and it's very tight. It's called the wall because if you have to do the mechanic yourself and you don't know how to do it, you're gonna mess up a lot. First, you need to get up to Titan. Once you do, he'll knock you back, but you need to make sure you're not knocked all the way back into a wall because that's death. At the same time, you need to get knocked between these exploding rocks. Now, once you do that, your job is not over yet. At random, 3 players will have a ticking symbol above their heads. Once the timer runs out, those 3 players will be placed into jails. If you're selected, you just can't stand there and do nothing. You have to try to line up the 3 jails with a puddle in the back leading all the way up to Titan. Failing to do so won't end up in a wipe, but you won't awaken Titan. So you may be wondering, what the hell does awakening a boss mean? Each boss has a certain way of awakening them, and if you cannot get them to awaken, then you just simply will lose the fight. You cannot progress. Once a boss has awakened, you'll see this white glow around them, and with that, you know you did it correctly. They'll also become a lot tougher too, so be ready for that as well. But if you manage to defeat one of the awakened bosses, then they drop a white puddle on the ground. We call it candy sometimes. Grabbing one of these will give you a free Limit Break 3. Limit breaks are essentially your ultimate move you want to use in a fight. Limit breaks are essentially your ultimate move in a fight, and Limit Break 3 is the highest level. When tanks use their Limit Break 3, they shield everyone with a massive damage mitigation. When using LB3 as a healer, they'll essentially revive everyone who's on the ground and everyone else back to full health. Melee LB3 is a strong single target damage dealing ability, and for range and magic they have a strong LB3, just more AoE and not a strong single target one. The range one is linear versus the magical, which is a circular AoE. Once you awaken the boss, they'll become a lot more dangerous. An awakened Titan is no joke. At this point, the arena has shrunk because it becomes a danger zone outside of the center of the arena. He'll also start throwing out non-telegraph attacks. So once a danger zone has been attacked, he will then attack the safe zone after. So you have to do a lot of in and out dodging. Once you do that, and once you awaken all 3 bosses, you're now in the intermission phase between Titan and Ultima. This is the La Habrea fight, La Habrea being the main villain of base game 14. It's not really much of a fight, but rather a check if you have all the LBs from the previous parts. When he knocks down everybody, healer needs to use their LB3. When he summons up all these drones, use your LB3 for magic, and then smack them with your melee LB3 to do a lot of damage fast. The final LB3 is for the tank. Use this before Ultima blows up your team. But once you have done everything correctly up to this point, it's time to begin the final fight against Ultima. This is the final stretch. And this is where a lot of people would say the fight actually begins. Garuda was pretty easy, Ifrit as well, and Titan is a wall for most. But Ultima has so many mechanics packed in this fight that making one mistake and sending you all the way back to the start of Garuda will feel terrible. For me, losing is not fun because that's a lot of time lost, so let's lock in and try our best to focus and finish up the fight. And if you're wondering, yes, I have not pressed a single attack skill. I am still currently just vibing. And I really wish I can sit down and explain all the mechanics, but this is just really intense and I only really know the parts that I need to know. You really need to know your role well or else you will mess up and people will die. There's at least 3 big mechanics during this fight. Once you overcome all that, the last part of the fight is really easy. Easy in relation to pretty much everything in the final phase, I mean. He summons the previous bosses from the other phases and then you have to dodge all their abilities. But if you fail to kill the boss in time, he'll start doing this mechanic where he starts locking in everybody in place and you just cannot move and that's game. But luckily for my team and me, we cleared the fight. It took us a few tries, it wasn't too tough, but we did it. Outside of my auto attacks, I pretty much did no damage to the boss. I'm gonna warn you guys right now, do not attempt this unless you're a really good player with a really good party. Otherwise, if you're playing with random people, don't troll them and, you know, do all this stupid stuff. But I do want to throw a big thank you out to Saya and his friends. Even though the rest of the party didn't know what was happening, they still played with me anyways, and that was really nice to have that, because they could have easily just left and that would have made things worse for me. They all played so well enough for me to get a free clear without even having to do any big damage, and for that, I thank them. So yes, you can clear an ultimate without a jobstone and without pressing a single skill. And if you want to recreate this too, then go bother Saya because I'm not doing this ever again.